Welcome to episode 39 of the Hodgepodge Podcast. I'm your host, Doug.
I'm Dirty A. As the name suggests, we're going to talk about a hodgepodge of topics from movies, music, TV, and other pop culture events.
And on this episode, we'll be discussing Disney's new movie, Maleficent. You can reach us at the Hodgepodge Podcast at gmail.com or over on our website, thehodgepodgepodcast.com, or you can find us on YouTube or iTunes and subscribe. This week, we've got, as I mentioned, Maleficent.
Yeah, that's the big release.
That's the big release. And we had a few leftover indies that we saw over the last couple weeks that we want to discuss too. But before we get into all that, something we discussed in the last episode when we had Matt King here was we were talking about Ant-Man, or as I call him now, Cant-Man.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Hashtag trend it.
Yes, and trademark. Edgar Wright is out. He left the project, as we talked about in the last episode. And then they lined up about three
other directors,
comedy directors
that they were in talks with.
That they were talking to. At first, they said that the guy, I can never remember the last guy's name, but he directed. It was Ruben Fleischer, Adam McKay, and then there was another guy who the guy that directed We Are the Millers. I can't remember his name, but first they said he was the front runner. Then the next day they're like, "Oh, Adam McKay, he's in final negotiations," which made sense because he directed Paul Rudd in the Anchorman movies. Yeah. And then everyone's like, "Oh yeah, Adam McKay," and then literally like 5 hours later, they're like, "Oh, he left now too."
I mean, it was basically like, yep, almost like we got him signed, and then within the night passed.
Not even.
Yeah, and he announced himself that he was out of the running.
Hence the name, Cant-Man.
So, we don't know where this one's going. It was so high up on the pedestal there for a while, and now it's just notching down.
Oh, man. This is going to be a disaster. Now I think they said they're talking to the guy from Meet the Millers, and they're also talking to Ruben Fleischer now. So
I still think that they just want someone to hold the camera.
Basically,
They have their vision. They've got it mapped out. And they don't want any kind of independent creativity coming into it. They just want someone to point the camera and shoot.
Yeah. Speaking of...
Which I'm not saying the story's going to be bad. It's just,
right.
My opinion is that they're probably not allowing much free thinking and directorial, editing to go into it. So.
Yeah. Speaking of just pointing the camera and shooting, we saw Maleficent today.
Oh, yeah.
This movie it's from Disney. It's a reimagining of Sleeping Beauty, basically. Right. Angelina Jolie plays Maleficent.
Think Wicked meets...
Yeah.
It's the Wicked take on Sleeping Beauty, basically, where it focuses on the evil queen as opposed to Sleeping Beauty herself.
Right. Yeah, Angelina Jolie plays Maleficent, and basically the story... And we're probably going to get into spoilers here. Not that there's really much to spoil, because if you know Sleeping Beauty, you kind of know the story.
Yeah, everything except the very end is just kind of more or less follows the story of Sleeping Beauty.
But we find out that Maleficent is really just misunderstood, and
she's kind of like an emo fairy.
Yeah, she was a fairy, and
she got her heart broken.
She got her heart broken, and then she took it out on a baby.
Yeah, more or less.
But then something along the way changes to where she's not really a villain in the end, which is kind of tough when your name is Maleficent. I mean, it's like, I know Lex Luthor's got his reasons for being a bad guy, but you never look at Lex Luthor and go, wow, he's a sympathetic villain.
He's okay. That guy's okay.
He's okay. Yeah. Dr. Doom is all right with me.
But that's the thing here. She was never the villain of this story, right?
No, she really isn't.
I mean, she's the dark figure, if you will, but she's never the villain.
Right.
They don't vilify her.
And to be honest, I liked Jolie the best when she was being bad.
Yeah. Well, she had more personality.
She
more
did.
Character
she did. She really she could really get her sink her teeth into the part. what you can say, her claws,
her wings.
Yeah. She could sink her teeth into the part when she was being bad, and then they don't let her be bad all that much. And Charlton Copley is also in this. He plays the king.
Yeah, just kind of a gimme throwaway role for him. I mean, the movie's not all bad. It's not like it's just a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know what I'm saying.
That's the tagline for the video review.
It's
not just a piece of shit.
Not just a piece of shit. Absolutely. But it just too much of it doesn't hold up, and maybe it's because it's not really made for us. I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, it is. They're trying to walk a fine line between making it enjoyable for adults, but be a child-friendly movie.
But see, that was the problem I had with it. Was that like?
But a lot of it seemed pretty dark for little kids, at least.
I guess. I mean, the thing that bothered me about it is that they were almost trying to make like a realistic take on it. Like they're worrying about how they're going to feed the baby and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I'm like, but this is a fairy tale. It's like you don't worry about that crap in a fairy tale.
Well, but see that to me, that's just played into the comedy element, right? Because it's like you said, those three fairy. Princesses or whatever they were,
the fairy aunties.
They were basically
the Three
Stooges.
Yeah. Imelda Staunton is in it. She basically plays Mo. I don't know what the fairy's name is, but it's Mo. And then the other two are Larry and Curly.
Yeah, and we're talking like lowbrow.
Yeah, lowbrow, just slapstick. Yeah,
Three Stooges all the way. I mean,
the tone was kind of all over the place.
Yeah, Sam Riley, he was funnier to me. Than those three fairies were.
Right.
To me, he was more of the role of the humor in the movie.
I think the problem I had with it was that it just didn't let the movie tell a story. It was like you said when we got out of it. It was about 30 minutes of just straight on exposition in the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's just boring. And then and then after that, it's a very disjointed movie. And like it doesn't tell a story.
You get like 10 minutes of where she's becoming quote unquote evil, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, and then she just becomes more just meh.
Yeah. Misunderstood more than anything else.
And you know, her evil never took full effect, obviously, because that's not the direction they wanted to go with it. I mean, that wasn't a mistake. They didn't see that as it wasn't a mistake in directing or whatever. That's the way the story was. But for me, it was a mistake in the overall story arc.
Yeah, the narrative was all over the place. Most of the special effects are good.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I knew this going in. Right, it's a pretty movie.
Yeah,
it's a pretty movie, but I didn't think the story was going to hold up for me. Unfortunately, that's exactly what it turned out to be.
Yeah. Angie doesn't even get naked. That's not fair.
What?
Everyone knows fairies just fly around naked. Come on. I mean, come on.
I mean, they basically should call the movie, you know, malnourished, because her face is just her cheeks. You just see her cheekbones, and I know that's just the fairy look of her, but
that's makeup.
It just looks odd. It just looks odd.
I did like how. You know, because if you're trying to do a more quote-unquote realistic take on it, you know, your automatic thought is, oh, well, she's very specific with the curse. Oh, this curse is very, very specific.
Extremely specific.
So they're like, it's like, well, why not just lock her in a room for, like, you know, until the time passes? But they actually explain why the curse is still fulfilled, which is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, which you know, you're going to take a curse into effect. A curse is a curse. It's going to happen, right? That's the idea of it. Nothing can stop it, and it doesn't matter how you lock it up. It will happen. And you're right. That's how this works out. It wasn't like circumstance that led her to the final part of the curse, right? Right. It was the curse pulling her into the curse.
Fulfilling it. Yeah. As I was watching it, it felt a lot to me like they were trying to steal some of the X-Men's thunder, because they do kind of turn her into like a Magneto type character. Where like you can look at Magneto and say he does bad things, but you can understand where Magneto is coming from.
Yeah.
And it's like
he's got that backstory that makes him makes him palpable.
That you might want to root for him sometimes. Yeah. So it's like, you know, I think that's what they were trying to do with her, except with this they kind of went all the way into making her into like a hero, basically.
Yeah, she basically had no quarrel with people in general. It was more the one guy, the king.
Yeah.
we won't spoil it.
Yeah.
What happens, but it starts out where the original king, is going to try to take over her land called the Moors.
Right.
And she kind of gets an army of sorts to prevent that from happening. And then
she's like the defender of the fairy folk.
And then the king decrees that anyone who can kill her would be his successor to the throne.
Right.
So that's the beginning of the story. You may see where it may kind of go from there, but we won't. I don't think there's any need to spoil it. It doesn't. No. It's not gonna buy you viewers anything for us to spoil it, so there's no need for that.
Yeah.
It's just I don't have much to say about this because unfortunately I knew how I was going to feel going into it, and it was exactly what I expected.
It's just not really engaging.
It was a paint by numbers type of fairy tale movie.
It's just pretty mediocre. And
and like you said, Angelina Jolie does a good job. This is completely her movie. I mean, she's the only focus in this movie,
right?
And she does a great job as Maleficent, but the story just doesn't really hold up. When and where she can use her powers and what for, or never. You end up scratching your head, just like wondering why.
Yeah.
So
it's a shame because I would like to see her in a role like that where she plays like the villainess and stuff like that, but just in a better story.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell she can definitely pull it off.
Yeah, because she was really. I mean, when she goes to curse the baby, that was like the best scene because she's just like, oh.
Yeah.
But you see a lot of that in the trailer too, but she's really good. But overall, the movie is just to skip it. You don't have to really see it. It looks like it won the weekend handily. X-Men.
But up against what? I mean, nothing. Well, but I mean, nothing new came out this week.
Well,
X-Men's been out.
One other new movie came out.
no other big releases came out.
Fuck you, Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah.
You failure.
Oh yeah, I forgot that opened this weekend.
It did open this weekend.
Oh yeah,
it's $17 million.
Yeah.
Which is.
Wow, I forgot that was opening this weekend.
I think it's like, I forget how much Ted made its first weekend, but it's like, I think that's like less than half than Ted made when it came out.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's deserved.
Yeah, that movie's awful.
Yeah.
So that's Maleficent. You can probably skip that. Wait till it comes out on Disney Channel.
Yeah, I mean, it is a family-friendly movie, so if, it's PG, so if you want to take the kiddies or something like that to see a movie, you won't be completely bored with it. It's just, you're going to scratch your heads a lot, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it's not complete shit.
Don't worry, I wrote down the line for the video review.
So, you want to move on to? I mean, I don't really have much else to say about this.
No.
Let's move on to another indie movie we saw this weekend that I think we were both kind of looking forward to, based on the original trailer we saw for it.
Yeah.
It's called Cold in July.
Right.
And it is starring Michael C. Hall, fresh off to the big screen off of his Dexter role in Showtime, trying to prove that he can do a feature film.
Yeah.
And
he wanted to be Daredevil too.
Yeah, that's right.
But they cast some other dude.
As far as Michael C. Hall goes, I felt his character in this one was a little out of place, but we can get into that later. So Cold in July is basically, I guess it's tonally, I guess it's a thriller.
I guess.
A mystery thriller.
I guess.
based on it's set in East Texas.
In 1989.
In 1989. And Michael C. Hall and his family, it basically, the movie starts out, there's a break-in in his home, and he shoots and kills the intruder.
Right.
In glorious Texas style.
Yeah.
And they basically play that up too. How in Texas, it's just the thing to do.
Yeah, he's so scared shitless that he just like jumps and then the gun goes off and he manages to hit the guy in the eye.
Yeah, so that is the crux of the plot of this story that gets it rolling, right? That he has killed an intruder. He obviously gets off on self-defense. There's nothing to that, but the intruder's father has come back for revenge.
Right. He's played by Sam Shepard.
And there's a turning point in this story. Sam Shepard, I thought, at the beginning of this story was awesome.
Yeah.
And then there's a turning point in the story. And I feel like I don't want to ruin, because the only thing this movie has is the
The twist.
Yeah. So, you know, we can't really...
But I think they actually ruined it in the trailer.
You think so?
I think they did. I'm pretty sure they did.
I don't remember that well enough. We just saw the trailer once, basically.
Yeah. Well, spoilers.
Yeah. So, anyway, there is a rather big twist in this story that basically turns it into a different story altogether.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the first half of the movie, the first third of the movie is completely different from the last 2/3.
Right.
The first third being a much more superior movie in my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they've got some good. They got some good. Don Johnson's in this.
Yeah, Don Johnson is
playing
good
a PI, private investigator / pig farmer.
That's right.
And he did great. It was
he was good.
Pretty classic.
He was probably the best part of the movie.
Yeah. He was funny and serious as an investigator. A believable character.
Yeah,
if you will.
He was.
Michael C. Hall's motivation in this movie is one of the serious plot holes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, again, we get into it too much. We're going to spoil everything for anyone else to see it.
That's what we do. I mean, so it's like, they can probably tell that we're not overly thrilled with it. And the thing is like, this movie's getting like great reviews all over the place, and
I'm surprised.
I don't understand it.
It's like maybe they're reviewing the trailer.
I don't know. I mean, because like the problem with this movie ultimately is that there are important questions that are not answered that would inform the story. The internal logic of the movie is ultimately flawed in the end, and in this whole second half of the movie, your main character is basically not even your main character anymore.
Yeah.
Because there's no real
motivation
for him to be there.
I mean, it's an the idea is they've internalized it. Right. So that his motivation is because he sees something horrific happen and he wants to somehow stop it.
Right.
But, his original motivation, they just pretend like that's not an issue anymore.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know, it was just kind of all over the place. And then
there's a conspiracy with police officers that's never explained at all.
Yeah, that's never explained. Never.
You don't understand why the big reveal, how that's really has fit into that conspiracy, if you will.
Or if it does at all.
Right. And it just there's so many gaping holes in the story that unfortunately it's odd to say I still almost enjoyed watching the movie.
Yeah, I mean the movie's an enjoyable watch.
Save all the issues.
Yeah, it's definitely an enjoyable watch.
I'm not gonna say don't see it because I actually still kind of had fun with it.
Yeah.
But when you pick it apart, I mean the holes are huge.
Yeah, and it's definitely check it out. If it comes on cable, when it comes on cable or something like that, I wouldn't go in the theater to go see it. It's not worth $10.
I wouldn't say $10.
It's a decent thriller. It's just that there's a bunch of shifts tonally that didn't work for me, and like I said, in the second half of the movie, you're kind of wondering why Michael C. Hall's character is there at all.
Yeah, and
that's not good. You can't. That's a narrative. That's a big hole. Yeah. I mean you can't do that.
And then there's one scene in the movie where they try to turn him and all of them into like badasses.
Yeah.
You remember that scene where they all kind of walk on, guns a-blazing. Mm-hmm. It didn't work. The other thing about this movie that didn't work was the tone and the music. Yeah,
they tried. Like I was reminded of several different movies with this one. It felt like they were going for, in some parts, they were going for No Country for Old Men vibe, and then there was other parts where it felt like they were going for a Drive vibe. It's set in the it's set in the 80s, and then most of the score is fine. It was fine. It was just like a score for the movie. You're talking about like a normal thriller score.
Yeah, right.
And then all of a sudden, they start bringing almost like these Vangelis synths into it, and there's like and you're just like, what the hell am I watching now? It's just
it's like I know I get it. You can play around with your music and whatever, and just because it's in Texas, it doesn't have to be country,
right?
But the fact of the matter is, the music was full on city 80s. It wasn't. It just did not fit what was going on the screen at all at the time.
Yeah.
It was just the tone was all over the place, which is really too bad because a lot about this movie was really fun. And like I said, had they stuck with the original plot, the opening plot of the movie, I thought it would have been a much better.
Well, I mean, I think
not so original.
What I think what would have been better, and again, like Dirty A said, we don't want to spoil it for everybody, but I think it would have been better if they connected the two. Like it basically is it's like two halves of two different movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
If they had connected the conspiracy angle that they hint at with what happens in the second half, but they never do. Those two puzzle pieces never fit together. And we should say it's based on a novel by Joe R. Lansdale. And I'm curious to see if there's something
was this cut out with the screenplay.
But while I was watching the credits, he was like an executive producer on the movie. So I don't know. I mean, unless maybe he's dead and it was just a honorary title or something like that. No, he's not dead. He's still alive.
Again, it would be a good movie fun to sit and watch on your couch. Just not really rush out to the theater.
No, definitely not.
I mean, if you do, make it a matinee.
It was kind of a disappointment, honestly.
Yeah,
it really was.
I was actually really looking forward to it.
And
because I was a huge Dexter fan, so I like Michael C. Hall a lot. And I don't know if I was just stuck typecasting him as Dexter, or whether his role really didn't fit too well, but he just felt a little out of place for me in that role. Again, too bad. Like I said, I think Shepard and Johnson are really the best parts of this movie.
Yeah, they really are. And they never mentioned how cold it was in July.
That's one of those plot holes, right?
We saw, what was this, last week, I guess? 2 weeks ago? Week and a half ago? 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago now?
Yeah.
We saw a couple other indie movies that we left out of our last pre-X-Men episode. And one of them was a film written and directed and starring John Turturro, and also stars Woody Allen, and that is a film called Fading Gigolo. It is basically what happens. The story goes, and it's a pretty good movie.
I liked it.
I liked it. It's funny. It's very funny.
It's a very sweet film.
Yeah, it is. It's funny. Some of the parts of the story just didn't do it for me.
Yeah, that's not perfect movie.
It's not perfect by any means.
But it is a sweet film to watch,
and it jumps right into it. Like it gets going right away.
Yeah, which it kind of needs.
Yeah,
I mean, there doesn't need to be a bunch of exposition to set this up.
Basically, Woody Allen says that he's losing. He owns a bookstore. He's losing his store.
The economy has gotten his bookstore, which is kind of he's been in his family for generations, kind of thing.
Right. And then John Turturro is kind of like a jack of all trades type guy. He works in a florist's shop, basically, or he does like decorative floral arrangements.
Yeah.
Right. But he's not super well off, monetarily.
Yeah. It's kind of his second job is working for Woody Allen in the bookstore.
Right. Yeah. Woody Allen comes along and says that his dermatologist, Dr. Parker, who we later come to find is played by Sharon Stone,
she's looking fine in this
fantastic
movie. Yeah. Good for you, Sharon.
Yeah, she looks great in this movie. Yes, you do get to see her boobies because you haven't seen those before. If you've seen Basic Instinct or Sliver
everything.
or everything else she's been in, except maybe Catwoman. He says that her dermatologist is interested in having a threesome, and then basically Woody Allen pimps out John Turturro's character, and they go into business together as a gigolo and a pimp.
Right. So it starts out basically just one job,
right?
And then it kind of
they grow,
a snowball type of thing,
right?
This movie is Turturro's nod. It's an homage to Woody Allen movies. This is basically a Woody Allen movie if you've ever seen one. It's set in like Manhattan.
New York. Is, Brooklyn. I think he lives in Brooklyn.
Okay, so set in Brooklyn. So right, in the wheelhouse of a Woody Allen film.
Right.
To me, the movie is just so funny. Woody Allen, like funny, like there's the funny scene that I love is when they're trying to come up with the pimp name for him.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. They spend a few minutes trying to come up with a good nom de fuck for Totoro.
Yeah.
And then a pimp name for Woody Allen and his character in the movie.
Basically, what happens then is that Woody Allen comes across a young widow who was married to she's in the Hasidic Jewish community, and she was married to a rabbi who passed, and he basically tries to use Totoro to like cheer her up, I guess.
Right. Well, he's trying to drum up business.
Right.
It's Woody Allen basically. He's like down in the trenches trying to promote his business any way he can.
Basically, she meets Totoro, and then they kind of sort of fall in love, and she is being pursued by Liev Schreiber, who plays. He's like a neighborhood watch type guy.
Yeah. Apparently
for the Hasidic community.
Yeah, I'm not familiar at all with the Hasidic
Well, they look like they were
community.
endorsed by the cops.
Yeah,
so.
but I mean, there are a lot of rules, I guess, revolving around this community and Hasidic Jews in general. One being basically, you can't go outside the community to date. You can't touch people.
Right. So he tries to find out what's going on with Woody Allen and Totoro.
Yeah, so he's not really actively pursuing her. He like admires her from afar.
Right.
And then as he has this job as part of this neighborhood watch with his Jewish community, he sees a guy coming and going and puts two and two together and follows kind of almost a little investigation.
Right. The widow is played by Vanessa Paradis, who was famously with Johnny Depp for a long time. I think they might have been married. I don't know. I can't remember if they were married. But she was with him for a long time.
She did a good job here, though.
Yeah, she does a pretty good job. Sofia Vergara is also in this, and she's having a pretty bang-up year between this and Chef. She's really branching out from Modern Family a little bit. The thing is for me that it was a very funny movie. I laughed a lot at it. The problem for me is that the love story at the heart of it between Totoro and Paradis just didn't ring true to me. Like it was like it happened way too fast, and like it seemed like there was no meat to it. I'm just like wait, what? It's like now he's in love with her. It just felt kind of forced
for me. And I get into spoilers if I explain my point of view here. But for me, it kind of rang true in that it wasn't true, right?
Right.
I mean, she basically was just looking for a connection, right? And imagine not having anyone touch you for years, and then you have a masseuse, if you will, right?
Yeah.
And you just
that kind of came out of nowhere too.
Yeah. But you just feel that connection, right? And and that's what she felt, and I just sensed from him he was just looking for anything to love. He just wanted love in his life. Right. So to me, that felt a little more organic. You're right. It's definitely rushed. Yeah. Right. But I think that was just a pacing issue with the movie because it's not exactly a fast-paced movie as it is.
No, it's not.
So to give more of that would probably...
Then basically what happens is they all get in trouble with the Hasidic... The elders. Yeah, the Hasidic elders and stuff like that, and then comedy ensues. The real reason to see this movie, and again, this is something you probably want to catch on cable because it's very hard to find it in theaters unless you live in New York, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it came to our area and it was here for like a week and then it was gone and then it went to another theater and it was there for like about 2 weeks. Now I think it's gone there too.
It's done. Yeah.
So they're not really playing it much, but the real reason to watch it is for Totoro and Woody Allen. They have fantastic comedic chemistry throughout the movie. And
I mean, if you love Woody Allen movies, again, this is basically what this is, even though Totoro directed in it.
Right.
Go see it because you'll love this. It's right in that wheelhouse. But it is a very slow movie, so not quite as slow as the next one we'll talk about, though. But
no, it's not as quite as slow as the next one we're going to talk about. But I will say that of all the movies we're talking about in this episode, this was the best movie.
It really was
that we saw.
Yeah, I was delightfully surprised at how much I like this movie, even though it is And I'm talking extremely slow.
It is a slog.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I know that sounds contradictory, but
it does. But I mean, it is excruciatingly slow.
Yeah.
But not in a bad way somehow. I mean,
No, yeah.
It doesn't. Again, I'm gonna say something that doesn't sound like we like the movie, but it's like it almost doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
you know what I mean?
the film is writer-director Jim Jarmusch's new one, and it's called Only Lovers Left Alive. And it is a slice of life film.
Yeah.
That's about vampires. And
maybe it's a bite of life.
Oh boy, Can't Man.
You're welcome. You're welcome, audience. You're welcome.
So basically, the story focuses on these two characters, which the one thing I did eye roll about were their names. The male vampire is played by Tom Hiddleston. His name is Adam. And of course, the female vampire, played by Tilda Swinton, her name is Eve. Yeah. And I was like, come on. Right. Really? Right. You don't have to be that on the nose with it.
Yeah, I guess that's how they refer to themselves. But
yeah.
It's funny their phone names that they use, that they choose throughout the movie. That's hilarious.
Yeah. And that is the thing with this. Like some of Jarmusch's other movies, this is not like a straight drama. This is like a very dark comedy. There's a lot of humor in this.
Yeah.
It is a slice of life, and there really is. It's very, very slow moving as you get to understand how these vampires exist in the modern day world. And they're artists too. Like Adam is an artist, he's a musician, and John Hurt is also in this, and he's a writer, and he's a vampire. And it explains how difficult it would be for an artist to basically be immortal.
Yeah.
How do you get your work out there if you live forever? And
right.
And John Hurt,
because he's got to be underground. He's got to stay underground.
Right.
He can't be in the mainstream.
Right. And John Hurt found interesting avenues to get his writing out. Adam is a little bit more frustrated, but at the same time, you can see the play with him is that he wants the music for himself,
right?
But he does want people to hear it at the same time.
He's not really all about the audience. He doesn't need it.
He's a very temperamental artist.
Yeah, he is.
Typical temperamental artist, and
very, very Michael Hutchins.
I guess, yeah. Mm. So they are married. Adam and Eve are married, but when the movie starts, they're living apart.
Yeah, for unexplained reasons, they don't live together. It's probably just a cultural thing with vampires, right?
Right.
They don't stay together.
Right.
I mean, you live thousands and thousands of years. Whatever,
Adam lives in Detroit, which was interesting because this is also kind of a love letter to the decay of Detroit, what that's been going through lately. And Eve is in Tangier. Right. With John Hurt, basically, he's like her mentor, father figure type thing. She reaches out to Adam on a whim, and then she can tell that he is in the throes of depression, and she goes to him, and then it shows how they live their lives together and stuff like that. And it's a very slow, meandering movie until her little sister shows up, and all the shit hits the fan. And that's her name's Ava, and she's played by Mia Wasikowska, if I'm saying her name right.
That's pretty close. Yeah, and she's like a whirling dervish of a vampire, right? She's the young one that still has the world at her fingertips. Right. She lacks any form of responsibility.
Right.
She's just very flighty.
Yes. She reminded me a lot of, and even though she was much younger in that movie, she reminded me of Kirsten Dunst in Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah, definitely similarities there. She doesn't. You can tell when she enters the scene. You can tell there's already been turmoil between herself.
Yes, and Adam is not a fan of hers.
Yeah, there's something had already happened in the past that they don't really delve into, but you know it's there. It's briefly mentioned, and it's not pertinent to the story other than that that they have a history.
And that's what I liked about the movie. It didn't unlike say Maleficent that where they basically explain everything and they actually vomit out the information to you. There's a lot of mystery in this movie. It really is a slice of life where you're just with them for the few days out of their lives, and then there's so much story that is not told, but yet it tells you, it informs the audience a lot from what's not told. And I mean, Jarmusch could go back to these characters and tell
You could
1,000 stories with these characters.
Oh yeah,
and I would go see every single one.
Yeah, it's so well told, and you know the I guess you could say outside of what you mentioned, the Hiddleston's character Adam, he's kind of in a depressed state of his life, but you know there's also external struggles in the vampire community as a whole.
Yeah.
In that the one of the arcs of the story is that they can't just go out and drink anybody's blood anymore
because of AIDS and stuff like that.
Because human blood is now tainted.
Right.
And there's very little of it out there that's actually pure enough for them to have a sustainable life.
Because it affects them if
right.
And it's funny because it's almost a play like on that old Saturday Night Live sketch where they had Dracula, who's like, "Can I do this blood test on you?" It's like it was hilarious.
And this isn't actually that piece of the storyline isn't exactly fresh. I've seen they have made vampire movies where that's been an issue.
But they also hint at other, and this is where I thought you were going to go with it. There is other turmoil in the vampire community because Tilda Swinton asks him at one point, "Is one of the others bothering you?" All the you can tell that it's just like a human society where
it's not like all
some of the vampires are bad.
One for all. Yeah, it's not.
It's not like stupid like fucking Twilight and all that shit. It's not like that. It's these are just they're vampires, but they're just living their lives.
Yeah,
and this is what they do.
Want to mention Anton Yelchin?
Yeah.
Who's in this? Who you may recognize from
Star Trek
or who's he playing in Star Trek? Chekhov.
Yeah.
And he's been in some other things, but he plays basically Adam's assistant, if you will.
Yeah, his errand boy,
his go-to guy
to
get stuff. And I thought he did a real good job.
He was really good.
He was really good.
He was really good.
Honestly, all the acting in this movie was great.
Yeah, it was really was.
It's the story's real tight.
Mm-hmm.
The acting's great. The tone of the movie, I loved it. How dark it was. But not forcibly so. It was just very just organically a very Gotham-y type of feel to Detroit.
Yeah.
There was one I didn't know quite. It was kind of present day, right? It wasn't really set in the future.
No, yeah, it was present day.
So I thought it was odd that there was one scene where there was like acid somewhere.
I didn't know that was all about.
That was odd, right? That was like the only
unless it was like an industrial toxic waste,
which is
thing.
That was my idea, but I still felt it odd that there was like this pool of toxic sludge, acid, if you will. But that was an extremely small gripe to a movie that's so well. It was everything well directed, well told, well acted.
Yeah, they really transport you. You really get to see the world through the vampire's eyes and see what it's like to be them.
Unfortunately, I think most people would walk out of this not enjoying it. Unfortunately, because it doesn't have that.
The masses definitely would.
That direct antagonist. It doesn't. It's very slow. The plot of it is just kind of tedious, if you will. It's like you said, it's just a slice of life. That's all it's meant to be. But man, it was a really good movie. You're right. Out of all these movies, this is easily the best one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you've got time to kill, go check it out. But, seriously, don't expect it to be like a present-day vampire movie.
That is what I was trying to get out when my tongue just wouldn't let me a minute ago, is that's why the audience is really not going to like this, is because as a vampire movie, they're going to be expecting what you typically see in that today, True Blood.
Yeah.
And
it is not True Blood.
It is not that at all. It is so much better. It's just, take any slice of life story and just throw vampires in there. That's what it is, and it's great, and it's so fresh to see this vampire story told this way, right?
Yeah,
as just kind of nonchalant. How they do little things like travel, get on a plane.
Yeah,
with
all the security measures now, and having lived for so long,
you don't have a
passport.
Right?
Yeah, can't have a passport.
Again, it goes back to the IDs that they use. Very funny in here.
Yeah,
almost some of them are almost too funny because it's like they would never get by with that in real life.
Yeah,
but they're still funny.
Night flights only, please.
Night flights only. Yeah, right. She's trying to book her flight at one point, but she's got to make sure in booking her flight that every leg of it is in the night. She can't have a layover and then have a morning flight. She's got to fly at night. So
basically, what we're saying is, unlike modern day vampire movies, these vampires actually cannot go out in the daytime.
Yeah. They
actually follow the number one rule about vampires.
Jarmusch took into account actual rules of vampirism.
The vampire rules have existed for 2 centuries. Right. Thank you.
But yeah, John Hurt, awesome.
Yeah, he was great in this. Awesome it was just really, really well made movie. But like we said, it is a little slow. So be patient with it, and you will be rewarded greatly.
You really will.
That's it. That'll do it for this episode of the Hodgepodge Podcast. Next episode, we will be discussing 2 completely different movies. We'll be discussing Tom Cruise's new one, Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah, we got free screeners for that one. Unfortunately, it'll be in 3D. But
but
free.
Yeah, that's with Emily Blunt as well. And then the other one is going to be Shailene Woodley in The Fault in Our Stars.
One we've been looking forward to.
One will be a tearjerker. I'm pretty sure it's Edge of Tomorrow.
Right. It's getting great reviews.
But it's getting great reviews. I'm really psyched for it.
I mean, it's solidly in like the 90s. Yeah. And it's gotten over 30 critic reviews.
Yeah, so I'm actually looking forward to it. So we're actually seeing that tomorrow night.
And Fault in Her Stars seems like it's going to be Oscar-y.
We'll see.
Right. That's why I'm hesitant to say that. Yeah. It seems like the kind of story that's what they're going for.
Yeah.
But
it is based on a young adult novel, so it depends on how they play it up. Will they play it as a prestige picture, or will they play to the teen audience?
Yeah, they can either do it like say they did Perks of Being a Wallflower, or they could go another way with it, which I'm really hope they go with Perks.
Right. Yeah. So that'll do it for us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for stopping by.